So Braun Strowman and Karen Angle. Tell everybody the story.
Karen. Yeah, this actually happened like 10 days ago, and I wrote about it. It wasn't anything I was going to bring up here. I mean, not that, I didn't think it's that big of a deal, but I did want to write about it because it did happen. And, I think the thing that it's probably one of those things where like I was reading comments and I guess when you read comments on stuff, on anything like that, when it comes to like Alberto or, Paige or any kind of the personal stuff, people start, saying stuff, and it always like annoys me because the people are saying stuff that they don't know and all that. But this one, I guess for whatever reason, I guess it kind of bothered me. No, it's like people going like, well, this couldn't have happened. It had to have been made up. And it's like, I'm not going to report something like this. I'm not going to report this story unless it's like it happened. And I'm not going to report it in detail unless I've got details from people who were there. If I didn't have details, I would write it a lot more vague than I did. And even like the stuff of what Strowman said to Karen at first. So for those who have not read it, I think most people maybe have heard the story, but if you haven't. So a week ago in Nashville, the Monday that they had the Raw in Nashville, they were doing some production work in Nashville for GFW, TNA, whatever. So a lot of the talent from both sides ended up at the same bar, and they just ended up at the same bar, and they were socializing, and it was no big deal. And Karen Jarret went up to Braun Strowman and just said, asked for an autograph, said like, you're my son's favorite wrestler. And Braun Strowman said something to him that he greatly regrets saying, and he shouldn't have said. I don't know the exact words, but it was, there were words going around. I don't feel like repeating them because again, the two people I talked to did not hear the words. They heard people say what the words were, but they heard the rest of the words because it became, an issue. But, without a doubt, he said something, like something that he shouldn't have said, like, something about your kid or, just really rude and gruff and, just shouldn't have said it. And she fired back and just goes, that you shouldn't be talking like this. And I'm going to tell my son's father, and his father is Kurt Angle. And then all of a sudden, Braun freaks out and everything, and he's sorry, and I'm sure he was sorry. He's just, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. And then she went off and just was like, you shouldn't, it doesn't matter who my son's father is. You should never have done that because to anyone, and she's right. You shouldn't be like that to a fan. Asking for an autograph. There was no reason for that at all. And and that was that. And he ended up on his hands and knees begging, please don't tell Kurt. And a lot of people, I think, for whatever reason, didn't want to believe that happened, but it did. And so that's that. But I mean, I saw like Mike Johnson report something, and he said, and he kind of said, yes, it's true, it did happen, and it's just two drunk people, and that's what happened. And it's like, I don't know if they were or weren't. And I'm going to know tomorrow because I'm going to ask. Because when I was told the story by two different people who were there, and one who was right there, well, they were both right there. Neither of them told me that they were drunk, but you know what? I mean, it's like I didn't ask, because it was, and there were a lot of people, I don't know what it was. I guess the reaction to it really was weird because, they were going like, oh, she should have never, done that. And it's like, she probably should have, because it was a lesson for him. He's new in the business. He's got a lot of stardom in a quick period of time. And hopefully like he really was sorry. And then like where they were mad at, I think that there's something about like, because he's the gimmick of who Braun Strowman is, that he should never apologize and he should be this, and that's not real life. That's a freaking TV character. He should have apologized, hands and knees, that sounds like really degrading and everything, but I mean, he was just, he really didn't want her to tell Kurt, and people are like, oh, he could beat up Kurt. And it's like, what are you even talking about? It's not beating. It's everyone's got so much respect for Kurt in this business, even though Kurt's not, an angel or anything like that. And Kurt has his past and we all know that and everything. It's like, Kurt's one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation. and every wrestler in that company respects him. And, it's just, it's that, but again, if you're a talent, I'm not saying that you should, there are times, and I have seen, I've been around a lot of wrestlers when people come up for autographs, and I have seen fans that are very, very nice, and 90% of the time they are, maybe other wrestlers will say the percentage is a little lower than that. Most of the time they are. Sometimes they're intrusive. Sometimes I've seen fans absolutely terribly, horribly rude. And even, and again, and I'm not even saying that you have to sign all autographs. Sometimes people have things to do and all that, but you don't have to be rude about it. I know that you can just say, I'm in a rush, I got to get out of here. And sometimes fans will get really mad and be really mad about that, or hey, I just got to leave, or whatever, but don't be rude about it. Unless they're rude first. And if they're rude first, that's different. But this was not a situation where somebody was rude first at all. It was from what I heard, it was just like, can I have an autograph? And it's like, whatever, F you or whatever. It's like, don't do that. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully he learned a lesson and it was just sort of a thing that, he wasn't thinking or whatever the situation was. But, I don't know. It's just weird how people react to, I don't know, it's because she was a woman or because he's Braun Strowman and they believe in his gimmick or they just want to believe it was fake because they just don't want to believe it. But it's like, I don't know. That's just the reaction to it. If it was only by one person or even a couple people, it wouldn't bother me. But for some reason on this one, the reaction to it was like everybody was going from this never happened, it's all made up, like blaming, all these things that I don't know. It's like it was what it was. That's all.